That's what we're gonna talk about.
What is imperialism?
Imperialism is the quest for colonial empire. It all started when countries were fighting for power and for resources.
Go.
Social Darwinism is the idea of fighting to survive. Survival of the fittest, you know. The person who adapts to the environment the quickest will always survive. Alright? It's kind of like the Hunger Games and Katniss Everdeen, where she survived because she adapted the most quickest.
The Cuban independence movement of 1896 was the nationalist uprising in Cuba against Spanish rule. It began with the unsuccessful 10 Years' War and culminated in the U.S. intervention that ended the Spanish colonial presence in the Americas.
General Valeriano Weyler was a Spanish general and colonel administrator. He served as governor general in the Philippines and in Cuba.
Oh, hey there! The battleship USS Maine had been sent to Havana to protect the lives of U.S. citizens and their property. On February 15th, the Maine blew up, killing 260 sailors. The journal headline was screaming and everyone was so worried, although there was no proof of this. Spanish officials agreed to U.S. proposed peace plan, but it was too late. On April 11th, McKinley asked Congress to intervene in Cuba in the name of humanity, and thus began the Spanish-American War.
The Teller Amendment was an amendment passed by Congress that said that once Cuba gained its independence from Spain, then the U.S. would leave Cuba to govern by itself, like its people from the island would be able to govern.
Listen, so Wood wanted to make a new constitution so they could limit Cubans' freedom. So they created the
Platt Amendment.
What did this amendment do, Shaina?
This amendment allowed for the United States to intervene into Cuban affairs and also made it difficult for Cuba to make treaties with other countries.
Factors that started the American-Spanish War. First factor, in 1898, Spanish Minister de Lepon sent a letter out criticizing McKinley, an American leader, calling him weak. Sent it to, and the Cubans intercepted the letter and published it.
Lieutenant Colonel Theodore Roosevelt had resigned his naval post. In this famous battle, he led a cavalry unit of 1,000 soldiers composed of athletes, horseback riders, ranchers, Indians, and they were called the Rough Riders.
Hello, mate. I'm Captain Jacob Judson. Let me tell you about my experiences in the war.
Heavy rains pouring down, no tents for cover, standing in trenches, in a foot of water and mud, day and night. Ration issue consisting of a slice of soaked belly, hardtack, and some grains of coffee. Then came the issue of fleece-lined underwear in a 132-degree climate. Then came on malaria.
Emilio Aguinaldo, he led the Philippine Patriots to gain their independence of Spain. The Dues asked him for help.
In 1898, few Americans knew where the Philippines were located. President McKinley confessed that initially he could not locate the islands within 2,000 miles. Americans wondered if Philippines should be forced to accept U.S. rule. The debate. Some Americans questioned whether it was proper to annex a foreign territory and rule its government and its people. Expansionists argued in favor of an annexation. Business people wanted the islands to serve as a trading post for goods from Asia, as well as a place for merchant ships to refuel. To refuel!
The Hebrew-Navarrete Treaty gave the United States complete sovereignty over a 10-mile radius zone, and it was a canal zone, so President Roosevelt was able to boast about it and say that he gained the land and let Congress debate about it. Events in Panama soon turned to be in Roosevelt's favor. Key Panamanian leaders who wanted the canal built began plotting the revolution against the Colombian government. Helping them was Felipe Buena Varilla, who was the former chief executive and engineer for the French canal building attempt. Buena Varilla traveled to Washington, D.C. in order to gain the support of the U.S. On October 9, 1903, he met privately with President Roosevelt. And on November 2nd, the U.S. gunboat Nashville arrived in Panama. The following day, the Panamanians began their rebellion. U.S. Marines prevented Colombian forces from reaching the rebels. The victorious rebels quickly set up a new government and declared Panama as an independent nation. The United States recognized the Republic of Panama 2 days later, and Hay began negotiating a new canal treaty with Panama's special envoy, Buenavilla.
In 1899, Secretary of State John Hay calls for an open door policy. This allowed equal trade and access to China.
Okay. What are spheres of influence? Well, spheres of influence are where a particular country has exclusive rights over mines, trade, and railroads. Now, China, for example, had 5 ports that they opened to trade with the United States and Europe. China's rulers struggled to keep foreign interests from overrunning the country.
Hey, didn't see you there. Let me tell you about the annexation of Hawaii. In a basic summary, the U.S. realized that Hawaii was a great source for resources and naval bases. So they decided to come in and attempt to conquer it.
Imperialism.
That's what we're gonna talk about!